Welcome to What's New in macOS Monterey. My name is James Alguire. I'm an Apple certified instructor, and I'll be your tour guide on some of the cool new things that are new in the Mac operating system coming up. Just a couple of things really quick. By attending this presentation, you will be an alumni of the FMC training program, which allows you a few benefits and so on. There'll be I'll put it in the chat, but there'll be a link to a survey after the class. When you fill that out, you'll get an email with some things like an additional discounts on future classes with FMC and so on. We also have partnerships with other technology companies like Dell, and you can see more about the relationship we have with Dell at dell.com/FMC training. And additionally, we have a video at Vimeo about this. If you go to https://vimeo.com/418046352, and that will be a nice little video that goes through some of this as well. In addition, if you go to the dell.com/FMC training, there'll be some information about promotions that Dell is offering on their products for people who are FMC alumni. And then we also have a relationship with a company called Saramonic. Saramonic provides various support equipment for those of you who want to do podcasts or online streaming or any kind of video production. They provide stands, backgrounds, headsets, and the like. For anybody who wants to do those kinds of things. Again, you can go to saramonicusa.com and see more about their products, and you can even save 20% off of one of their professional kits using the code VIP support 20. All right. So we are going to talk a little bit about what's new in macOS 12 Monterey. Apple's got the phrase high powered meets high everyone. Monterey is designed to provide better performance on newer Macs and older Macs, kill a lot of bugs in previous versions of the Mac operating system, and extend the extensibility between your Mac, your tablet, your phone, watch, and so on, by enhancing the integration that they use with handoff and continuity working between your different devices. And we'll talk a little bit about that more as we go through that. So real briefly, if you wouldn't mind, and you can unmute if you've got a microphone, or just put this in the chat. We got your name, just your organization, your role in the organization, where you are geographically, and one thing you're sort of interested in learning more about in this webinar. Okay. Are you there? There we go. Okay. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I was just out, not in the Midwest, I was out in Philadelphia teaching a class last week. All right. So some things to know about Monterey if you're planning to upgrade. Every Mac that has shipped since October of 2021 will have Monterey pre-installed. So you don't have to worry about a lot of the requirements for that. But if you're planning to upgrade, there are some things you need to think about. You must be running at least macOS 10.9, that's Mavericks or later. 10.9 is the earliest version of the Mac operating system that you can directly upgrade from, meaning if you're running anything earlier than 10.9 Mavericks, then you need to at least upgrade to Mavericks or something later, and then upgrade to Monterey. There's another option too, something we call a clean installation. For that, if you're running anything earlier than Mavericks, you would simply back up your Mac using Time Machine. Once you've done that, you could boot to the recovery volume, erase the hard drive, install Monterey, and then during the initial setup, you would run Migration Assistant and restore the data from your backup. Both of those options do require some additional steps that you have to go through. So that's it. Your Mac must have at least 4 gigs of RAM in order to upgrade, and that shouldn't be a problem. Most current Macs come with at least 8 gigs. And for my own personal preference, my own personal minimum RAM for a computer is going to be 16 gigabytes. Especially if you're running an Apple Silicon based Mac, because with Apple Silicon, your RAM is used for both video and general computing. So your video subsystem uses as well. It's called unified memory. And essentially it's in a very efficient way of managing memory resources, because your video card can pull the information it needs from the same exact location that your computer is calculating it in memory. And I can answer more questions about that later on. So for a hard drive space, you need at least 26 gigabytes. The download for Monterey, if you're downloading the installer, is 12 gigabytes. So that's half of that amount right there, just about. And that's if you're running anything later than Sierra. If you're running anything earlier than Sierra, like El Capitan or so, then you need 44 gigabytes. I will tell you that if you have less than this amount of storage on your hard drive, you're probably experiencing significant performance problems, because the system needs quite a bit of space just to manage resources. In fact, most computer experts recommend that you leave 10 to 20% of your drive's total capacity free for the system to use for things like cache files, temporary files, and virtual memory swap files to make things work really well. Also, if you've got solid state storage, they use something called wear leveling to extend the life of these drives. And so if you filled up your hard drive, because wear leveling does is it's constantly writing data to different sectors or cells on the solid state drive, so that no one set of cells gets overworked or burnt out by reading and writing them too much. Solid state drives cells have a limited number of read and write cycles that they can have operated, and after that they'll no longer function. So wear leveling spreads out the use of the cells on your solid state drive, and if you have filled your drive up, there's nowhere to do the wear leveling, and again that can reduce the lifespan of your solid state drive pretty substantially if you're not careful. Now, some of the features of macOS require that you have an Apple ID, all of the iCloud services, but also access to things like the online app store, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple, all the health and news and all those kinds of things do require that you have an Apple ID to do a lot of different things. And of course, a lot of features in the operating system also require a connection to an internet service provider, which these days most of us have. And then on the right side of this slide, what we have are the Macs that actually support Monterey. So these are all the actual Mac models that you can actually install it on. And so we have the MacBook from 2015 or later. So anything earlier than that will not run Monterey. We have the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. So the MacBook, MacBook Air, and MacBook Pro, as well as the iMac, all from 2015 or later, will run Monterey. The Mac Mini from 2014 or later will run Monterey. The iMac Pro from 2017 or later, and the Mac Pro Tower, whether it's the tall, what they call the cheese graters, the larger towers, or the smaller black cylindrical towers. They will all run Monterey if they're from 2013 or later. So you can see we can run the current version of the Mac operating system on Macs that are 7 to 12 years old. So that's a pretty good range of items. All right. So jump back. So we're going to actually take a look at some actual features here. So if you want to actually learn more about the complete set of features that Monterey provides, if you go to your web browser and you go to apple.com, and you can go to the Mac option, and then from there, click on macOS Monterey. This will give you a nice little summary of the features in a nice animated view, and you can look at that, or you can click on the all new features, and that will list pretty much everything that is happening in macOS Monterey. But one of the things we're going to start with is a feature called Quick Notes. And so if you have an idea and you want to quickly jot it down, or you want to gather some information from a source, then all you have to do is go down to the right edge of your screen, and this little image will pop up. You sort of see it next to the dock there. It's a little wedge there. If I click on that, that brings up my Quick Notes. It says, telling me that I have some notes that might be hidden. That's fine. And so here in my Quick Notes, I can say, you know, this is an idea I have for a new book. Or I could go to Safari. Let me close this. I go to Safari, and let's say I want to go to Wikipedia. And I want to do a search on cephalopods. And so I'm doing some research for a paper on cephalopods. And so I can just grab a piece of this information that I want, my report, copy that. And again, I just go down to the corner, pop that up, and then just put that into Quick Notes. And then later, if I open up the Notes app, I can actually view all of my Quick Notes right from here. So here's information on my cephalopods. And I can then drag and drop that into another location, or copy and paste it into my report. So it's easy to manage information quickly and easily using the Notes app. Now, another thing about the Notes app that's really cool is the ability to tag your notes. So I could come in here to this particular note, I can add a hashtag and then cephalopod, oops, like that. And so that adds that tag to this. I'll add another one and just say Quick Note. And so now I can actually search my Quick Note, my notes, by all the tags. I could say, I just click on the cephalopod tag, and that will display all of the notes that I have in my Notes app that contain cephalopod. Or I could say macOS. I got a bunch of those for there, and trivia. So there's only a couple that have a macOS trivia. So I can jump and organize my information fairly quickly just by tagging it. So tags is actually a bit of metadata that's been a part of the macOS for a while. You can actually add tags to documents and folders and things in the file system, but now we have the ability to add tags to our notes, which makes it easier to quickly identify different notes, or group different notes together that are based on similar types of information. And so if you take the time to add these tags to your notes as you're creating them, it can be easy to locate the notes that you want simply by using all of the tags. So this is another really cool feature that we have that's a part of the Mac operating system. and part of the notes options. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple of things in Safari. So, and this is not technically Safari, but this is a feature called live text. And what live text is, and I'm going to just go here and say, photos with text. What live text is the ability to view images and actually, if there's text in the image, to copy and paste that text into any kind of note. So you can see here, this image, I can just start clicking and dragging this text in this image because that's the live text. So this is a graphic, but I'm selecting, it's recognizing the text. This is like photo to text recognition, and I can copy that. And again, I could go to my notes app and I could add that to a note. Let me just create a new note here. We'll call this live text. And in fact, we will add the live text tag to that. And then I will paste the text in here. And it may not have done it exactly how it's supposed to, but again, I can come in and edit this basically. Go back to here, it says, give me shelter. And so I can change that. So again, and in fact, let me just go to this whole thing. So we've got all these images. So here's a good image. I'll click on that. And again, I can come in here and I just come in and start clicking and grab the image. And I can just copy the text and then paste that into a note. Just like that. So it's easy. Like if you've got pictures of business cards, or you can take a picture of a contract, and you can go in and actually be able to select the text as well, and then paste it into a document and take advantage of it. Now, there's another feature, and this one I have difficulty demonstrating because for some reason it doesn't really want to work. But if you have a picture of a specific destination, let me just say, in theory, I could take a picture of a location and I could do a search on that image. And usually there'll be a link at the bottom of the image or an item down here if it's working. And it would then identify where that image is. So you can do search for things like locations or objects just by having an image. So you have the ability to do visual search in the Mac operating system. As I said, if you have an image that you want to identify, there'll be typically a little icon in the lower corner of the image that will let you do that. And again, if you have like the Photos app, let me bring my Photos app here. And so, like if I had a photo of a location, this is more an ambiguous location. Again, I would have a little icon in the lower right corner here, and it would attempt to identify where this is at. But this is pretty vague, although this is in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I don't think I have anything. Oops. On this, I don't have anything more specific. Because this one is, I don't have a lot of images on this computer. All right. But that would be the idea. So you can pull text out of an image simply by viewing the image and then clicking and dragging over the text, copy and paste it in any document that you want. And then you can do visual search easily by bringing up an image and then clicking on the item that gives the little icon, and that will then attempt to locate the object or the location in the image, basically. Visually. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to hide these controls. All right. So another feature that we have is the ability to create tab groups. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to go to a couple of different news sites. So let's say CNN.com, and I'll create another tab, and we'll just say MSNBC. All right, and then ProPublica. So I got these news sites here. So if I'm able to view the sidebar here, I have the ability to create a new tab group. I can either create an empty group and add the tabs that I want, or I can create a new tab group with the 3 tabs I have active. So I'll do that. And so now we'll call this news sites. And so I've got a webinar one here, which displays a bunch of tabs that I created for different things in the webinar, like for looking at the images and so on, trying to do the visual option there. But I can just click on this news sites here, and it just replaces those with these particular tabs. So if there are common websites that you visit on a regular basis, this is a quick way to manage them and be able to load them all in one go. So you could have sites for specific topics. Yeah. So let's say you're a graphic designer. So you might have some sites that are specific for learning more about graphic design. You might have some sites for graphic design resources and so on. And so, or you might have other topics. Maybe you're a Monty Python fan. You might have several Monty Python websites that you'd like to go to. So you can organize these into different groups and manage them that way. And in some ways, this could be a little bit more useful than bookmarks, because it is possible to load multiple bookmarks, but then you got to go to the bookmarks menu and choose. And you can see I got quite a few of these. But again, so I got a bunch here. And again, you can create folders for different bookmarks, but this can be an easier way of managing these options. So having multiple tab groups can work really well. And they redesigned the sidebar to make it more conducive for this. And so we've got our tab groups at the top. We've got shared with you. So sort of jumping ahead a little bit. So shared with you is a feature where if someone you know texts you images or links to websites or articles in the news app and so on, the shared with you function here would display any of those items. And so in each app, like the news app, let me go ahead and launch the news app. So the news app, let me take a second to load, or the music app or the TV app or your photos app, anywhere, any type of app that Apple has provided that has access to various types of content, someone sends you that, or they text it to you and so on, then in each app, you will see a shared with you section like this in Safari. And then clicking on that will display specifically the shared content, whether it's the images or the links or the news articles and so on. And then down below that, we have the links. And so here, again, you can view your bookmarks. And again, you have quick access to any websites that you've bookmarked. And then below that, you've also got the reading list. So if you add websites to the reading list, I could say, I want to look at that website later, then you've got that option as well. And so you can go back to websites that you wanted to look at later on and read the articles and do whatever you want to do with those items. So the sidebar is just a quick way to access these different types of resources, and Apple's revamped it quite a bit. So right now we're just looking at the 2 tabs, and we can view all of our tabs like this, and then just click on whichever one that we want to jump to, basically. Well, that's interesting. Oh, it says news sites. It should say news sites. Let me fix that. All right, there we go. And again, if we want to, we can view each one individually, or we can jump to each one by bringing up the grid view and then clicking on that to switch out that way, or just click on the tab. Or if you're a keyboard shortcut kind of person, Command Shift, and then the left and right bracket on the keyboard will jump you one tab left or right. So it's easy to jump between tabs, basically, as we're going through things. Now, Apple also has changed the tab bar, so you can actually, I think this is in the preferences, where you can use the compact tab bar. Let's see. But pretty much everything would normally be in the toolbar is all like one thing now. The URL field and your tools for managing things. And another thing that Safari does is it prevents you from being tracked, and it goes even further. In Monterey, it even prevents trackers from profiling you based on your public IP address. So here, if I click on this shield icon, this is going to show on this website how many trackers that it prevented from tracking you. And if you click on this triangle down, this disclosure triangle, you can see all of the different types of websites that potentially could be tracking you. And then different websites offer different ones. Let me add the Apple website here. Oops. Just to get a different view. So here's the Apple web page. If I click on this, there aren't any other trackers tracking you. But most of the other websites, like if I went to Google, and now if I go to the Shield, now this is not as many trackers as this one, just double click there. But you can see for these news sites like CNN, they've got 60 trackers. And then MSNBC, they've got 51. ProPublica is probably going to be fewer, 20 trackers, not as many. So you can see that this can give you a lot more information about what websites are trying to track you. And these are all things that the Safari app is blocking. And as I said, the one thing that they added to this in Monterey was the ability to essentially prevent websites like these from profiling you via your IP address. So they basically tag which IP address that you're using to communicate over the internet, and then based on where that IP address shows up as you're navigating to web pages, they can build a profile about the kinds of things that you're looking at or things you might be interested in or places you go to make purchases and so on. All right. Now this isn't a massive feature, but the Maps app actually has a cool function, and that's called the interactive globe. And this is more kind of a cool feature. So I go to the Maps app here, and normally if you jump in the Maps app, you'd be just looking at whatever the last map was, or you could click on this option. Yeah, turn on location services. Hold on. Okay. And let me turn that back on. There we go. And we'll add maps. All right. So now maps can use location services. So I click on this, it shows me my location. So this is where I'm at. But if I want to see the interactive globe, basically I just have to zoom out. So I could just zoom completely out. And so now I get this globe. And so I can just spin this around and, pretty much go anywhere and then zoom in on any particular location that I want right from there. So it's like having the globe, in your office or in your house. You spin and find out which vacation you're going to be taking next. But again, it gives you a nice overview of everything. And again, this will spin. Now, you should note, and I'm going to tell this now, there's a number of new features in Monterey that don't work unless you've got newer hardware like Apple Silicon. So for example, this interactive map doesn't work on Apple Silicon based or non-Apple Silicon based Mac. So I'm connected to this classroom. Let me launch the maps on this computer over here. So I've got a computer that I'm using to monitor this class. So I'm gonna open up the Maps app on this. I'm gonna screen share over so you can see. Screen sharing is not a new feature of the macOS, but it is a feature. It allows me basically to view the screen of another computer within the local network. So this is a 2017 13-inch MacBook Pro. It's an Intel-based Mac. And in fact, if I go to the Apple menu here and say about this Mac, this will tell you it's a MacBook Pro, running an Intel processor, i5, and so on. And so if I try to zoom out in the Maps app, I will not get, I can zoom in like this to specific locations. And in fact, let me move around here. But if I try to zoom out, I can zoom in, but if I try to zoom out, I will only zoom out this far. And this is it. I don't get the interactive globe. I just get the sort of flat world map. So you should note that not every feature of the macOS Monterey will work on all Macs that can run it. So, and this is one of those features that does not work unless it's on an Apple Silicon. Let me quit screen sharing. Yeah. So yeah, these are those things. All right. Now, another feature that we have is shortcuts. So shortcuts is simply a way to automate tasks on your Mac. And shortcuts is one of the features that comes from the iOS world. Shortcuts has been on iOS for quite a while and just came to the macOS with Monterey. So what shortcuts do, I'm going to launch the Shortcuts app. Shortcuts allows you to automate specific tasks. So if I double click on this one here, it'll calculate something from San Diego to Istanbul using that shortcut. So in this case, let me close this. Let me just run that. I'll click on the play button to run that. And then it should give me an option or action. If there's text in the clipboard, and in fact, let me bring up the Notes app and just put some text in the clipboard. Cephalopod. All right, so let me just copy this text here, put that in the clipboard. And so now I can actually have it speak the text in the clipboard, which you may not hear because I don't have the speakers on for my computer.
Such as a squid, octopus, cuttlefish, or nautilus. These exclusively marine animals are characterized by bilateral body symmetry, prominent head, and a set of arms or tentacles. Muscular hydrostics modified from the primitive molluscan foot.
All right, so let me mute my speakers here. So again, these items can do a number of different things. So I've got options. So here's a haiku generator that can generate some Japanese haiku. And again, you can provide some words and it'll create the haiku for you, basically. So, and it goes through the process. So you need some 2-syllable words. Let's see. Okay, so we'll just do that. And another 2-syllable word. Like that. And so it'll generate a little haiku for you. Now, I'll close that. So the purpose of shortcuts is to automate tasks, to make it easier to do certain things. So they can grab like the image of the day, find out where a photo was taken, start generating documents, adding events to your calendar, change the volume of your computer, and so on. Now down here we have the starter shortcuts. These come with your computer, and like open up a new Pages document, view the last voice memo, text the last image to somebody, access Shazam. There's a music quiz and a thing that talks about what a shortcut is. If you want to get more shortcuts, you can go to the gallery option here, and that takes you to a location where there are literally hundreds of shortcuts that people have generated. They got different categories: getting stuff done, getting organized, some essential items, work from anywhere, morning routine, quick shortcuts, featured. So yeah, you want music to help you wash your hands, to make sure you're washing them long enough. Putting things on the calendar, they got a lot of different events options there. Reading things later, accessing the Safari reader, opening up URLs, timers for around the house, photography. So there's a lot of things going on here that you can play with, and anything you want to work with. So let's say clip an article to notes. I can click and add that shortcut to my existing shortcuts. Now you can also create your own shortcut if you want, essentially. So if I go back to my shortcuts, I can click the plus button, and that will bring up the create shortcut field here. And then I can go through and say, oh, let's see, well, what do I want to do? I want to do some text. So I'll add that here. And then again, I can look at other options for elements here. I can extract archives, make an archive, make a disk image. So I've got a bunch of different things that I can do: create a folder, delete files. And so I can essentially build, just set up the order of the actions that I want to create a shortcut that will do the thing that I want. And if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of videos there on how to go about creating your own shortcuts. But shortcuts, again, are just a way to automate tasks in the Mac operating system to make your life easier. You can build your own shortcuts if you have an idea about what you want and how to get there. You can also pull shortcuts that are pre-built from the gallery. And in many cases, these shortcuts are cross-device compatible, meaning that a number of these shortcuts will work on your Mac, but they'll also work on your phone or your tablet, because again, the shortcuts option basically is a multi-Apple platform sort of option for all of that. And so many of these will work on different devices. And that, again, can be helpful if you're looking to do the same type of thing on your tablet, your phone, or your computer. So shortcuts are another cool option. And so diving a little bit into multi-device sort of connectivity. So we know with handoff, we're able to, let me just grab one of my iPads here. We're able to do things like I can start a document on my computer here. I could launch, say, Pages. And I could create a new document. And we'll just say this is test. And save this. And I can add tags to this. I can say, macOS. I can say webinar, and so on. Test document. So I can search for this a number of different ways, and I can put this on my Mac. I can put it in the cloud. I'll leave this in the cloud for now. I'll save that. So now I've got this document, and I could easily go to my tablet, and there'll be an icon that'll appear on my tablet for pages that allow me to open this up. But what I really want to go with this is a couple of other things you can do with a tablet. You can actually use an iPad as a second monitor. And this has been something we've had for, I think, since Catalina, basically. But you couldn't go the other way. You couldn't view your iPad or your phone screen. Yeah, sidecar, exactly. But you couldn't go the other way. You couldn't view your tablet or phone on your Mac screen, or you couldn't view one Mac screen on another. Now, you could do this through an Apple TV. You could project your Mac screen or your phone or tablet screen to your television through your Apple TV, through AirPlay. So now we have your Mac can become an AirPlay receiver. And in fact, you can control this. If I go to System Preferences and I go to the sharing preference, right now, you can disable this feature if this is not something that you want to take advantage of. But right now, my computer is basically an AirPlay receiver. What that means is I can go to my tablet, and I'm going to go ahead and access the screen mirroring feature. And I'm going to specify my my Mac Mini here. And so here now is my screen for my iPad. And so now I could view any documents that are anything I'm doing on my iPad. I can now view on my screen. So this can be helpful if you need to do a demonstration on a mobile device for something, and it will change orientation again. So if you wanted to view something like so this is just this is a game, but I'm doing this just because it's a horizontal view for the iPad. But again, if you want, let's say you wanted to play a game on a larger screen, and I've got a 27-inch screen I'm connected to my monitor here, so I could actually do that and view everything I'm doing on this game. I'm not going to actually play this, but it just gives you an idea about what you can do. And then so when you're done, again, I can go back to my mirroring option, and I can stop mirroring, and that will display it. Now, you'll note that one thing is when you are mirroring a device like this to your computer display, it consumes the entire display. So you can't like do something on the Mac and the iPad back and forth at the same time. But it gives you the ability to do demonstrations and presentations, or even just use a larger screen for something on your tablet. Now, again, I'm going to show you that this is not just limited to the iPad. So I've got another Mac here. We'll see if this works. So I got to go to the screen mirroring here on this computer. And again, I'm going to specify my Mac. So earlier I showed you screen sharing, where I actually shared the screen, and that gives me the ability to do two things at the same time. But here you can see I'm now viewing the screen of my 13-inch MacBook Pro that's over here, and this is I'm mirroring the presentation so I can see what you're seeing, basically. So here I am, and I'm able to view and demonstrate and do everything from another Mac even to this Mac. So this can be, again, very helpful for doing various types of presentations. And then when you're done, you simply go to like the control center here, and I'll just say stop mirroring. So go to my screen mirroring here, and should be an option to stop mirroring. Let's see, I'll go back to. Interesting, this one does not have a stop mirroring function. That's fine. I just click, I can just click on this little, with my mouse, I can click on this and that will stop mirroring from that device. So I can stop it from the computer that's being mirrored on. It's funny that the iPad has the stop mirroring feature, but the Mac does not. Anyway, so AirPlay to the Mac allows you to easily display the screen of another Mac or tablet or phone to an existing Mac. Another feature, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this so much, but if you use FaceTime to communicate with other people, FaceTime has this SharePlay feature. And with FaceTime SharePlay, you could actually connect with a group of people and you could all be watching the same movie or listening to the same music, like a concert or something. And with FaceTime SharePlay Sync, you can actually stop or pause the movie. So if someone has to run to the restroom or you want to take a break to get a snack, you can pause the movie and it will pause on all of the screens. And then you can restart it again or jump back or go forward, however you want. So with SharePlay, you can do a number of different things when you're in a FaceTime session. You can share the same video. You can share the same audio. You can even share your Mac screen through FaceTime. So again, if you want to show somebody something while you're doing FaceTime, I FaceTime every weekend with my dad just to keep up with what's going on with him. And so again, this gives you the ability to easily share content with other people while you're in a FaceTime environment. And sadly, I can't really demonstrate that. Another feature that we have is called Focus. And what Focus does, let me click this here. Focus allows you to reduce the interruptions or distractions that you can experience while you're working on your computer. So if you're at work or if you're at home and you want to work on a project and you don't want to be disturbed by other people via text or chat or FaceTime or however, you don't want alerts to pop you up to sort of take you out of your environment. You can create these focus environments. So let me go ahead and go ahead and bring that up. And so if you go to System Preferences and you go to the Screen Time preference, and again, this allows you to track your usage of your computer, essentially. So I can turn this on for this computer if I want. I can also share this across devices so that essentially I can view the options for any device. If I go to like app usage, this will display, again, which apps I've used and how long I've used them. So again, if I launch, let me quit and relaunch notes. Okay, so that'll be on. And so over time, and then notifications, I can view when things are notified. And telling me these things. So part of this is handled by Screen Time, but basically what I want to go is the notifications. Where are you? Notifications and Focus. So here we go. So here's the notifications and Focus. I'll click on the Focus tab. And right now I just have this Do Not Disturb option. So if I want to create a specific focus for a specific options, I've got these pre-built options. I could say maybe mindfulness. And so with mindfulness on, this will then allow 0 people to access. And again, this will tell apps that I'm away or things like that. So show my focus status. So I can build focus options that are pre-built, and I can share these across all devices, meaning that if I enable a focus, it will not just happen on this Mac, but any other device that you have signed in with your Apple ID will also be in that focus. So no one can connect via your phone or your tablet or your Mac, basically. And so, like I said, you can click on the plus button and you can add specific categories. So for gaming, for personal, for reading, or for work, let's create a work one here. And again, you can specify the options for this. You can allow calls from favorites, from everyone, or from a specific group of contacts. Allow time-sensitive notifications, allow repeat calls. And you can turn these things off if these are things that you don't want. Now, the other option that you have is I could also delete that, create a custom focus. So I could add a new one here. You say custom, and I can go in and set the specific options. I could say, this is me time. Choose a color, choose an icon, whatever you feel is appropriate, and add that. And then you go in and you set the options. And so I could say no people are allowed to contact me, or I could add specific contacts who are, like in case of emergency. Here I could say turn on automatically. We've got things like time-based automation, location-based automation, or app-based automation. So there's things that can happen at a certain time when you're at a certain location or when you run a certain apps, basically. And so you have the ability to go through and set these options. And we'll just say we're not going to allow calls, we're going to allow P calls, but we might allow some specific notifications. And then once you're happy with that, you simply turn that on, and that focus will be running. And so whatever options you've configured here, those will be in place. That will reduce distractions and allow you to do what it is you want to do during that period of time, basically. So focus is just a way to define certain parameters to reduce distractions and interruptions while you're trying to get work done or relax or, do something to get away from your current environment. All right. So these are just a few of the new features and functions that we have as a part of Monterey. As I said, if you want a complete rundown of everything that Apple has put out, then you just go to apple.com, go to the Mac link, and go to the macOS link there. You get an overview of a variety of the new features. They'll talk about the FaceTime SharePlay, so you can watch movies with other people. And it's sort of like, the COVID version of going to the movie theater together. You can all watch the same movie where you stream them, or TV shows, or music. You can even share your screen so that people can see what you're doing, or you can demonstrate something. And of course, you can change the view. So you can go through all these different options here, or if you want to see absolutely everything that is new in Monterey, click on the all new features option here, and this will display absolutely everything in each different category. So that is pretty much everything that we wanted to show you for today. I'm going to go back to the presentation real quick. So once again, thank you for attending the webinar. I hope that you're looking at more things you can do with Monterey. If you haven't already upgraded, maybe you've seen a few things that would induce you to upgrade. Just remember, some of the things I've shown you may not work depending on which type of Mac that you have. And of course, Apple is trying to move people to the new Apple Silicon, but the Intel Macs are still very helpful and very powerful. They just may not do everything that you're looking to do. So again, I'm going to put this in the chat. Let me bring up the, I'm going to reopen my document here. Hold on. I get the link to the survey. Where are you? There it is. Nope. We used to have a link to the survey. Okay. Well, in that case, let me check a different document. Let's see. We'll do it this way. There we go. I'll put all this stuff in here, although I will say, yeah. Okay, so here is all the information. Oops, let me change the date. Today is the 28th, 28. Let me select all this text. I'll put this in the chats. All right, so that link will take you to the evaluation, and then this is the class. Today's the date. I'm your instructor, and then this is the location. Just go ahead and fill that out if you wouldn't mind. This helps us to create better content for future webinars and classes. So we appreciate your assistance with that. In addition, as I said, after you fill out the evaluation, you should receive an email that offers you as a person who's attended one of our presentations, some inducements to attend our classes, discounts on future classes, and other options. Again, we have partnerships with companies like Dell at dell.com/FMC training, or again, vimeo.com 418-046-352. And we've got some offerings and discounts from them. We also, again, have a partnership with Ceramonic. They provide various tools for podcasters, webcasters, online and live streaming. And go to ceramonicusa.com to find more about what they offer. And you can get a discount of 20% if you use the VIP Support 28 code. So that concludes our broadcast day. Thank you once again for attending, and hopefully we might see you in a future presentation or class. You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your week.